Tried to tell this story once before, but I ran out of time because it's such a long thing. But in 2014, after I'd left one of my jobs, I was planning on joining the Air Force. Not a lot of people knew that, and you wouldn't believe it to look at me now, but I was actually in pretty good shape. But anyway, one day in July, because I remember this day very vividly, I woke up, because I was still living at home at the time, and my sister was too, because we graduated college in the wrong economy. It wasn't a pretty sight. And my dad had his door closed because we stayed up later than he did, and he didn't like the noise, and he wanted to sleep. I thought nothing of it. I went about my day. I went and played golf. And I came back, showered, and I'd been back earlier after working out to change to go play golf, and my dad's door was still closed. And then came back and his door was still closed, and my sister was home from her work, and I asked her, hey, have you talked to Dad today? We better go check on him and see if he's sick, see if he's needing anything. And I opened his bedroom door, and it is, like, to describe it, there's, like, you don't want to use the swear word, there's fecal matter on the bed, there's vomit on the floor, and my dad is in the closet just laying down. And we go to wake him up, and he seems kind of normal, just a little off. I'm like, what do you do in the closet, Dad? Are you okay? I'm not in the closet. Yes, you are. Matter of fact, you bent it to your shoulder. Like, he'd run into he had a shoe rack, an old one, made of like solid metal, and he'd bent it, falling into it. And I didn't know what was going on, so I tried to get in touch with people I know, and they're like, hey, we think he had a stroke. So you need to... So I try to lift him up, and he can't stand up. He won't get up. We don't know what to do. We finally get him into his chair, and we call 911 to get paramedics to come look at him. And the first people that come are the volunteer fire department. And my friends have given me a hard time about thinking less of them, but I thought a lot less of them after this, because a bunch of people come up like, hey, what's going on? We're the volunteer fire department. I think my dad may have had a stroke. Something's wrong. We need somebody to look at him. And there's like 15 people in our house, none of which are paramedics. Oh yeah, only one of us is a paramedic, and we're waiting on him. Then why are all of you here? Hey, we had a call. So they were all useless and just getting in the way and taking up space. And I'm still mad about it. And because we donated to them, we did all this stuff, and that's what came of it. And the paramedic guy comes and checks on him. Then the real paramedics come along. They look at him, and they start asking him, well, what did you take? What did you take? And I look at him, what? Because my dad, he drinks beer. That is it. He doesn't take hard drugs. He doesn't take pain pills. Despite having a bad back, like the strongest thing he takes is omeprazole for his acid reflux. Other than that, he doesn't do drugs. I've never heard of him doing drugs. So I kept telling him he didn't OD. He doesn't do drugs. And there's not any drugs in here, because the worst thing he had in his bathroom was omeprazole. And then there was like a bottle of nighttime, like, Equate. And they asked him, well, did you take some of this? And he's not answering because he doesn't know what's going on. He's confused. He's not himself. And one of them said, oh, well, I drank a whole bottle of that, so he didn't take that. And I told him, because I was getting mad. He didn't overdose. Will you check on him? Because they weren't checking on him. They were asking him if... And I get it to an extent. Their job is rough. And they've dealt with probably 100 ODs, and it seemed like it. And then my dad fell because he couldn't stand up and peed in the floor. And they told him, like, well, we need to take you to the hospital. And he kept saying, no, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm just going to get ready for my day. Because he thought it was in the morning. He kept at it. He kept at it. And they turned to us and they said, normally we respect his wishes, but it looks like something's wrong. So I told my sister to ride with him to the hospital. I'll get some stuff and I'll meet you there. And she gets to the ER, and I, of course, have to call our relatives. I call my cousin first, because she's the one with the best head on her shoulders of the relatives. And I tell her to tell my grandmother and tell my uncle, her dad. And she tells some other relatives. And we get to the ER, and he's tied up to a bunch of machines, and we start talking to the doctors. And they say, yeah, he had an aneurysm. Oh, well, that makes sense. We thought he had a stroke, so I was close to right. And then, this is where I'll preface this with, I don't think, I may have forgiven this, but I haven't forgotten. My family comes in, and my dad's in there. He's awake, he's lucid, he just doesn't know where he is. And my uncle starts screaming, I can't stand it. I can't believe he's sick. Just yelling his head off, loud as he can. And this is the ER. You need to be quiet. He's putting on a show. And my dad still thinks he's at home. And he keeps trying to get up. And he showed his pecker to his niece, who was mortified, understandably. And to his aunts, who were also mortified. But he didn't know what he was doing. And the doctor comes up, and he's like, look, it's a huge bleed. We can't do anything here. You've got two options. You can either intubate him, make him comfortable, and he'll live for, I don't know, a few more hours. Maybe it's through the morning, or you can just leave him and we'll make him comfortable. And I turn to my sister and I say, well, I know my dad. My dad would not care about living 5 more minutes in a world where he can't live and enjoy life and play golf, because when it came right down to it, if he couldn't play golf, he didn't want to live. Period. I knew him. And we decided that, and my friends have come, which I haven't forgotten this, and they're like, what's going on? I was like, oh, he's not going to make it. I can speak about it casually now, but I was less casual at the time. I was freaking out, having to tell other people about it, my dad's friends. And a lot of people say, well, you need to spend the night in the hospital with people. And we were going to, but my uncle and my grandmother decided that they needed to be by the bedside too. And they both were going to sleep there, so there's no room for us. Because my uncle wants to show everybody how close he is to his brother and how seriously he's taken this situation. And I didn't think he cared. He was always indifferent about my dad, always competing over nothing. Like, his favorite thing to do was to buy something and then brag to my dad about how much better it is than his. And my dad didn't care. He was in a race with somebody that wasn't running. Our dad didn't care. And I think it bothered my uncle that he didn't, like, say, oh, my stuff's good too. My dad doesn't care about stuff like that. He doesn't want to compete. But my uncle's screaming his head off, doing all this. And me and my sister decide, well, let's go sleep in they had like a area where relatives could sleep. That wasn't in the room, but you'd be nearby. We walked in there, and I saw it was dark, and I saw the eyeballs of every person there. No one was asleep. No one. because everybody was in varying states of worry, and I couldn't sleep. She couldn't sleep. I finally said, I told myself, like, look, let's just go home, get some sleep. Dad wouldn't care if we're there or not. That's not what's important to him. That's not the person he was. He'd want us to get some rest. So we wake up early. I think she woke up earlier than I did and went. And we get to the room and he's still alive. He wasn't supposed to live through the night. He's still alive. So the hospital was kind of like, oh, whoops, I guess we messed this up. And his doctor comes in and they're trying to transfer him to UAB. And even my other uncle, my mom's brother, came by just to see what was going on, which I was grateful for. He drove 2 hours just to see my dad was okay, and we get him to okay to transfer to UAB. So we're going to drive down that day. We had to get some stuff ready. And my aunt, which I'm still eternally grateful for, can never pay back, had us stay with her for that whole time. The whole time my dad was at UAB. And my uncle and grandmother were going to get a hotel room. They were going to do all this. And I was terrified because my uncle had beat us down there, and he got on the phone with me and was going to talk to the doctor, and I was terrified because my uncle just wanted him to live, and I just knew he was telling the doctor, oh, you say if you cut his hands off, he'll live? Well, that's okay, just do that. And I told the doctor in no uncertain terms are you do anything he says. We are his kids. That's who you need to talk to. And I'll stop it here because this part's probably make it a 2-part video, so this will be kind of long.